When I first seen this, I didn't actually put too much merit on this particular topic. Like most people, we see George Bush Sr. and we don't put too much merit on the background. The blue screen in the background is something that I'm familiar with, but it shouldn't be there. And I didn't understand why it would be there. And so let me show you where this actually comes from. It's something pretty advanced.
Aurons pattern recognition tracking technology is undoubtedly the most cost-effective and simplest tracking system available. Based on proprietary algorithms developed by Aurons, the system extracts camera position, orientation, and field of view from the video signal itself. Therefore, installation and setup is extremely easy and quick. Similar in nature to barcode technology, Aurons pattern recognition tracking system utilizes traditional blue or green screen chroma key techniques. By adding grid lines of a similar blue or green hue onto the backdrop, the system recognizes and processes the overlaid information by reading the video signal. However, these grid lines are unseen in the compositing stage during the chroma key process. The algorithms support multi-camera productions and require only a small portion of the grid to be visible by the system for sufficient tracking.
So you would think it was the camera, or maybe it's the background of the screen that's the situation. Maybe the pattern of the screen itself is special, but not always. In some cases, the green screen is just good enough. Is it a particular color green? No. We can actually go with any particular color and any type of variety of colors. And that's where it comes, where green screen and blue screen isn't all limited. The green screen is not just one color. You can go with a blue screen, you can go to a darker blue, you can even go with white, and you can even go with black, depending on what you're actually working with. And that's what's actually really interesting, is the stage doesn't have to be that big. And what you would think is that, well, you know, it has to be the color itself, and the stage has to be a certain size, or there's some sort of the line pattern, it's a barcode, and it's got to be the coloration of the barcode, but not always. As you can see here, there is no barcode. This is a pattern, and the colorations are different and very chaotic, so it has to be something more advanced. We're talking serious stuff.
Dimensions for virtual sets, as no longer does the camera need to remain fixed to its position. With X-Sync, cameras can be mounted to pedestals, handheld, or mounted to a crane, and freely move within the studio. X-Sync gives 360 degrees shooting range and support multi-camera production. Tracking is achieved by infrared LED targets mounted onto studio cameras. These targets are tracked by an array of surveillance cameras which are fixed on the studio walls and the ceiling. These cameras are sensitive to IR light and can detect the camera parameters and position.
In the background here, you can see there's a variety of different color triangles, and these are actually tracking sections for the editors to actually piece together with a motion tracking system for alignments of the background. The question is it possible that what we're seeing here of NASA's testing the Apollo equipment in truth a stage? And the people that don't know about this are specific people that are doing honest testing of things don't know.
over here on the subject.
Good, safer.
But once
Release. Check.
get it under.
Check.
Yeah, it blocks the whole thing. Yeah.
ESP2 also, so just keep it in tight there.
If we don't hear them read by the time they're going on ESP2, we should call those up.
Okay, where you at, man? I'm just on the outside of the ESP2 stop me. Okay.
Oh, there it is.
I'm ducking under. Or something like that. Yeah. Alright, so I'm going fairly high on ESP2, right?
To the right.
Just put it on the head, or else ever. Yeah, but above the trailer business or below?
Stay in the feet, right?
Just take a quick look to see if ORAD Virtual Set Technologies had any sort of work with NASA. You know, just crazy thought there, right? Use a search engine to go look into this. Well, I found something kind of interesting. A company called Telemetrics Incorporated has a contract with Johnson Space Center, providing the latest camera robotics technology to NASA's government television at Mission Control. NASA Johnson is the YouTube channel that released the video with the gridded blue screen behind it. Just so happens that Telemetrics works closely with ORAD Virtual Set Technologies, apparently. At least they have that listed on their website. Innovative virtual studio and camera robotic systems make most of Limited's studio. Telemetrics camera robotic systems and ORAD Virtual Studio keep Traders Television Network on track. So they have worked with ORAD in the past, and this is the same company that has a contract with NASA Johnson to install their latest camera robotics technology. I'm just pointing this out. You know, the people calling me a shill aren't pointing this out. I'm pointing it out. You know, look into it for yourself. The same company installing the camera systems in Johnson Space Center that released the gridded blue screen footage are the same people who work with ORAD Virtual Studio, the same company that I'm saying would probably be supplying the 3D images for NASA. Coincidence? Maybe. Just pointing it out.
Challenging it will be for Philae to touch down on the comet. Let's have a go at the experiment. I'm going to throw Philae slowly towards the comet. For this first demonstration, we have the easiest possible setup. The comet is not rotating or moving relative to me, therefore the landing site is always visible. In reality, it's more complicated than that. From previous observations, we know that comets rotate.
NASA recently celebrated their 50-year anniversary of the first American spacewalk. But let's set the stage. March 18, 1965, the Soviets were already kicking our butts in nearly every milestone. Alexei Leninov aboard the Voskhod 2 became the first person to perform a spacewalk. The space race had been well underway, and NASA and the Americans were coming up short to their Soviet rivals.
The 8.5 G's, you're really being pushed into the seat, and all of a sudden, it stops. You're floating. It's a lot of fun.
The crew went through the preparation process. They reported we were ready.
Still my phone.
I had a tracking station make sure that all of the safety criteria had been met, and this was now okay to open up the hatch.
Okay, we're giving you a go for your EVA at this time.
Okay.
Roger, flight, let's go, okay?
After we got the hatch open, Ed stood up in the seat and got ready to go, and we cleared him to go, and then he took and pushed off from the seat.
Okay, my feet are out. I think I'm dragging a little bit, so I don't want to fire the gun yet. Okay, I'm separating from the spacecraft.
Ed White is flying at 17,000 miles per hour, 200 miles above the Earth.
Okay, I'm out.
If the spacesuit fails, the difference in pressure will kill him instantly. If the lifeline fails, he'll literally be lost in space.
The only thing to do would be to disconnect them and let them float around out there. I mean, it was, you know, these are things that's in everybody's mind. We don't have a plan. We don't have a checklist on how you kill your best friend.
As White floats in space, a glove drifts out of the capsule.
Looks like a thermal glove, Jim.
I don't even know whose glove it was. I don't know whether it was his or mine.
I feel like $1 million.
Today, those pictures are a classic. They're still overpowering today to realize, number one, it's been done, and that we did it. It blew me away.
This is the greatest experience. It's just tremendous.
Here's where I think the animators got carried away with creative license. The astronauts' helmets don't swivel. They're fixed to an airtight ring base, which is sewn to nearly 1/4 of an inch of multiply fabric, nylon, and mylar. Once pressurized, it becomes very stiff. Here we have the original footage of the actual EVA. It was taken on 16mm film reel, 440 feet long, which works out to be 12 minutes at 24 frames per second. A camera that can hold a 7-inch reel is fairly large, and we don't see anything that matches the description in the archives, or pre-flight equipment manifest. The news outlets that reported on the equipment that went up with the astronauts pulled sources from earlier press releases and blended them with the latest flight info, because a lot of the technical details were still hush-hush, which is why the stories ran nearly 3 weeks after the event. Even the home movie cameras of the day had 3 selections of 16, 18, and 24 frames per second. As we shall see later on, the handheld camera took footage of what appears to be 18 frames per second. But when filming the EVA, NASA chose to use a 7-inch reel of 440 feet of film. This would allow for 12 minutes of footage.
The flight plan called for EVA to begin on the second orbit. Somewhere over Hawaii, the pilot was to open the hatch of a depressurized cabin and stand up. Over the west coast of the United States, he would leave the spacecraft and expose himself to space. For 12 minutes, he would perform maneuvers over the United States. He would return to Gemini 4 and continue the mission as the spacecraft neared the night side of the Earth over the Atlantic. This was the flight plan. During the final 2 days of the mission, Command Pilot McDivitt took a series of formal and informal motion picture shots with a 16mm camera mounted at the pilot's window. The camera turns inward. For a brief moment, we are able to ride tourist class with Gemini 4, watching the crew at work. We catch a glimpse of a space sunrise, flaring in brilliant color over the Earth's horizon. Using the same camera, McDivitt photographed ground objects, including this small island in the Gulf of Mexico off the Texas coast. On another occasion, he photographed approaches to Yuma, Arizona. The detail seen here shows great promise for scientific exploration of the Earth, heretofore impossible. Using this technique, we could chart the major currents of the ocean, study weather patterns, and map the geology of the Earth.
No, don't wait for us. Man down! Man down! Explorer's been hit. Astronaut in off structure.
NASA.gov, millions of man-made debris and naturally occurring micrometeoroids orbit in and around Earth's space environment at hypervelocity speeds averaging 22,000 miles per hour. It is very unlikely that you would see space debris. Relative to a person in orbit, space debris is moving about 10 times faster than a bullet. Even small flecks of paint that have flaked off spacecraft can be hazardous. NASA's Space Shuttle Challenger was struck by flying paint several times in orbit, forcing ground staff to replace some of the spaceship's windows. A tiny paint flake blasted this hole in the SolarMax satellite retrieved in 1984 after 4 years in space. It had roughly 6 holes per square foot. According to the United States Space Surveillance Network, there are more than 21,000 objects larger than 10 centimeters orbiting the Earth which are being tracked. Objects 10 centimeters and smaller are too small to be tracked. It is estimated that there are a further 500,000 bits and pieces between 1 and 10 centimeters in size, while the particles smaller than 1 centimeter run into the many millions. NASA and Teledyne Brown Engineering provided this collision in space equivalent impacts on the ground table. A 0.3 centimeter aluminum sphere orbiting at an average 22,000 miles per hour is equivalent to a bowling ball at 60 miles per hour. Likewise, a 1 centimeter aluminum sphere is equivalent to a 400-pound safe at 60 miles per hour. Aerospace.com provides more examples. A 3 millimeter object has the same energy as a bullet. A 1 centimeter object has energy similar to a falling anvil. A 5 centimeter object has energy of a 16.5 ton bus, and a 10 centimeter aluminum sphere has the same kinetic energy as a large bomb comprised of 662 pounds of TNT.